So it's been non-stop in the news lately about ICE and a lot of inflammatory language. I want to give you a first-hand, first-person perspective of what it's actually like and some of the ethics behind being in police custody.
Hi, and welcome to Yeti at Large. This is a channel focused on making the most out of what you have, no matter where you're at. Thanks for tuning in and helping out.
Just a couple of fundamentals in history. Since the Code of Hammurabi, going back even to Sir Robert Peel, the Shia of the Reef, the sheriff, law enforcement is a sign of a civilized society and ultra necessary. Furthermore, there really is no such thing as left wing and right wing. There's either total government or anarchy. Under total government, you have statism, socialism, communism, fascism. Under anarchy, you have complete lawlessness and nothing can thrive and no civilization can prosper. Somewhere in the middle, you have a representative republic with elected officials, and you have laws and law enforcement on a federal, a state, a county, and a municipal level. So that first-hand perspective, I was a sworn peace officer in the state of Arizona. Started as a volunteer around 2008 when a certain president said it was time for a new kind of law enforcement officer. I was certain he was talking to me in my mid-40s. All the way through to the early 2020s, I was on patrol in northern Arizona with the sheriff's office, which was very helpful when the rise of constitutionalists and militias became a thing, along with civil unrest and a certain pandemic lockdown. You see, the sheriff is enshrined in the United States Constitution with an elected official. That gave us a little bit of an advantage, but that's a video for another day. During that time being on patrol and leading a squad, I made many arrests, thousands of calls for service, responded to all kinds of issues. But I had a lot of detainees. Some people I arrested, some people I detained and released. And that's what's in the news these days, and I want to set the record straight just from one first-hand perspective. Starting out as a volunteer, I had no powers of arrest, I had no authority. I was just there to help and to learn about what it was like. I strongly recommend, if you're able in your own way, to volunteer locally. If it's not with your search and rescue department like I did, there's other ways to get involved and serve your community, and I strongly recommend that you do. Moving on from volunteer, I became a tactical flight officer, flying in the right seat of our fixed-wing and rotorcraft aircraft doing interdiction and search and rescue missions. Pretty cool stuff. After that, I moved on and became a detention officer, meaning I worked in the county jail, the Hooskow, the Gray Bar Hotel. Did that for about a year before I went to police academy. The interesting thing is, it's a detention facility. That's where a lot of people are held for trial, other legal issues, and many times you'll hear people say that it's a misdemeanor jail, meaning you're there for no more than a year. People who are sentenced after conviction of a major crime are sent to corrections. That's where people can be held for longer than a year, and those more serious sentences. That's a subtle difference. And in that detention facility, though, they universally preach care, custody, and control. In that order, specifically like that. The detention officers would often tell the detainees, the inmates, hey, I don't really have a say, I don't really care about what your case is. My job is to keep you safe, keep you fed, keep you clean, and get you where you need to be when you have legal issues that you need to deal with. A lot of times people would come in for a 24-hour court remand on DUIs and stuff like that. Many times people would be booked, post bond, and leave without ever joining the general population. Other times people would come from corrections back to county while they were trials, appeals, and other court cases where they needed to be present. So county's a pretty interesting place, and almost guaranteed in your municipality that the county is the one who operates the detention facility, and it works under that elected sheriff in your area. Now, in Arizona, the counties are large, very large, just like they are in Southern California. Back east and in the Midwest, they may not be that big, so the county sheriff may not have as many resources or have as much of an impact on the local community. Regardless, though, that care, custody, and control. We got to harvest some peppers in the garden, so why don't we get on that and we'll talk some more. So that firsthand, real-world perspective from a sworn peace officer with over 12,000 calls for service, over 1,200 arrests and detentions, of what it's like to be in police custody, and the 3 C's that we were taught from day one: care, custody, and control. There's a lot of bogus narratives out there. A lot of people spewing a lot of hate that just isn't true. And I will tell you another thing about Arizona. It's the gold standard for peace officer certifications, meaning almost every other state in the union will accept an Arizona peace officer standard for their state. So they're always recruiting out of Arizona. So when it comes down to it at the end of the day, it's about that professional training and about the accountability with your peers. Because I will tell you right now, not one of the fine peace officers that I served with would have tolerated for a minute if I was anything other than 100% professional and humane with anyone in my custody. Quite a Serrano harvest. Come on, let's go cook them up. And another thing that never would have been tolerated is what we would call jump-starting a detainee. You see, a lot of times you bring people to jail at night, and for an officer to be rough with someone and to get them all aggravated and upset, and then only to pass them over to the detention officer, that's an absolute no-no. Because then those poor detention officers have to be with that person all night. A lot of times maybe they're detoxing, but they're certainly pissed off, hungry, and now they're making a racket and making life generally miserable for the detention officer and the other detainees. You never jump-started a detainee, you just didn't do that. Tomatoes are looking good. So this is the whole heart of the matter. I never would have tolerated anybody mistreating anybody who was detained or in custody or arrested. And nor would anybody I work with have put up for that either. Now, I know a lot of people are going to look at this and say, oh, the blue code, you know, you guys take care of each other. We do. We take very good care of each other. I would have given my life to save my brothers and sisters. But part of that code is that we don't put up with a single bit of nonsense. What one sworn peace officer does in any municipality affects everybody. And because of that, we all hold each other to a very high standard. I was humbled by the level of integrity that I saw in the care that was given to the inmates and the detainees. Now, make no bones about it. We know the relationship. These aren't our friends, but this is somebody from the general public that we serve. And once I take custody of that person, I am responsible for your care, your custody, and your control. So getting where you go safely, even if you don't want to be safe, is my job. One of the most flattering endorsements I received was late at night in a very remote area. I wound up trying to detain somebody who had been selling methamphetamines to the local community. I have no tolerance for that poison, but this is still a human being. And as I tried to take him into custody, he fought like a spider monkey hopped up on Mountain Dew. I was pretty impressed with his stamina, if you will. I finally got him into handcuffs, got a little scraped up myself. He got banged up a little bit, nothing major. And I can't transport somebody without having medical clearance. So we rolled a box, an ambulance, and they patched him up a little bit. And while they were doing that, he caught his breath and he looked at me and he says, "Hey, nothing personal." I said, "No, I'm not taking it personal, man. If I took it personal, I wouldn't be able to do this job." He got through the system. He was what you'll hear a lot of people refer to as a one and done. Got into the life a little bit, made a mistake, didn't like it, got out of it. Years later, I turned the corner with my 2 children in a grocery store and see him and his family walking towards us. We had a safe word that we used. I won't share that with you today because we still use that safe word. But basically my kids knew that that meant to turn around and go to the customer service desk and tell them that there might be a little scramble in aisle 4, if you will. He looks up, instantly recognizes me, and he says, "Hey Mom, this is the sergeant I was telling you about." She came up and said, "We just want to thank you so much. He talks about you a lot," and said it was a turning point in his life. I was very proud of that. Always kind of keep your guard up, but that was a great endorsement. Never seen him since, and I wish him luck. That's how it's supposed to happen. So look, yeah, there's dirty cops out there, but when I come across somebody doing something unethical, immoral, or illegal, I call them on it hard, knowing what's at stake and how unpleasant that is. And I'm counting on every sworn peace officer out there to do the same. Keep in mind, this is public safety. I don't care for the term first responder. I realize I'm mixing semantics right now, but part of the problem is you are the first responder. Your friends, your neighbors, your fellow travelers, your fellow countrymen and citizens. I rarely got to the scene first. There was usually other people there rendering aid or attempting to make sense of what had just happened. You're the first responders. I worked in public safety. A small distinction, but I want you to have the authority as the citizenry to be involved and as important as you really are. So this is a short video. It's a first-person perspective on what we're seeing. I've done riot control. I've been in the scrum. I have had a first-hand perspective of what the sworn peace officers are going through, and I'm here to vouch for them. They're not taking anybody in custody. They do not absolutely have to. And they are showing an incredible level of forbearance. Keep in mind that assault isn't actually putting hands on somebody. Now, a sworn peace officer is not presumed to be at rest, so we could never be victims of disorderly conduct. And I don't think I ever actually charged somebody with assault on a peace officer because A, I never got damaged too bad, and B, it took one thing off the table to be able to help people find the remedy, the restoration through the justice system, and not just get stuck circling in the justice system and they don't have the ability to navigate out and away from that. So if assault is words, deeds, or actions likely to provoke a physical response, somebody can be a victim of assault without actually having hands put on them. But when you start pushing, disobeying a lawful order, or otherwise putting a peace officer's personal safety at risk, you could highly likely be detained and or arrested. That's not up for debate. And the fact that many of these people are getting involved in these scrums and grabbing at ICE officers and other stuff, you should be saluting them, showing great forbearance and restraint. Now, what they're after is not an excuse to detain people. Matter of fact, that was the last remedy. Last thing I wanted to do was have to detain somebody. Think of the paperwork, the hassles, the headaches, the lawsuits. If we can solve this problem without putting handcuffs on somebody, that's preferable almost every time. That's just realistic. Come on, guys. Right? So yes, well into my 40s, I became a sworn peace officer and went to police academy. All through all the civil unrest of the 2010s, the pandemic lockdowns, the short staffing, it was unbelievably difficult. You have no idea the amount of overtime we worked, the short staffing we lived with, the funding challenges that we had. And when you're in a rural area, that involves working wildfires too, which is a whole nother twist we'll talk about some other day if you want. Just know, I proved to myself beyond a shadow of a doubt that you could work as a sworn peace officer, you could wear your heart on your sleeve, you could serve your community, keep your ethics in your soul. Right now, many people that I love dearly are still doing this job, and I trust them unconditionally. I pray for them frequently, and I hope that you will see what I see in your local community. Don't forget, go out and volunteer if you can. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeti at large.